Have you ever stopped to think about the rules we follow that aren't actually written down anywhere? Well, today we're going to dig into those invisible rules we learn growing up and see how they end up shaping pretty much everything. Let's jump in. It all kicks off with a super simple question, one you've probably never really thought about. Why do we give dolls to girls and cars to boys? It seems so harmless, right? But this is where we get our first lesson from a much, much bigger rulebook. See, they're not just toys. They're our first taste of a whole set of rules. Rules about what society expects from us, based on something as simple as whether we're a boy or a girl.
Think about it. From the clothes we're put in to how we're told to act, be quiet and gentle for girls, be tough and loud for boys, we're constantly being nudged into these very specific roles. And these early lessons, they're basically laying the foundation for the adults we're supposed to become.
But here's a key question. Are these rules the same everywhere? Oh, not even close. To really see how different these unwritten rules can be, we're going to take a trip to two completely different worlds, the Samoan Islands back in the 1920s and a small town in India in the 1960s.
Okay, so first up, we're in Samoa in the 1920s. There are no schools in the way we think of them. Learning is all hands-on. I mean, as soon as kids can walk, they're looking after their younger brothers and sisters. And get this, it's not a girl's job. Boys are right there doing it too.
Now let's jump forward in time and across the globe to a town in Madhya Pradesh, India, in the 1960s. The experience here could not be more different. Boys and girls went to totally separate schools. The girls' school was built around the central courtyard, literally designed to keep them hidden away. The boys' school, on the other hand, it had a huge open playground right out front for everyone to see.
So when you put these two childhoods next to each other, wow, the difference is just staggering. In Samoa, when girls became teenagers, they got way more freedom, going on fishing trips, working on plantations. But in Madhya Pradesh, the girls' world stayed small. The street wasn't a place to play, it was just a route to get home, usually in a group for safety. Meanwhile, the boys basically owned all that public space. It just goes to show you, these rules we grew up with, they're not natural. They are 100% built by the society we live in.
And here is the absolute kicker. These lessons we learn in childhood, they don't just magically disappear when we grow up. No siree. They follow us right into our adult lives and have a huge, huge impact on our jobs, our careers, and yep, our paychecks.
So, the roles we're taught on the playground become the roles we end up playing in the economy. The kind of work that's traditionally seen as women's work and the work seen as men's work often aren't valued the same way at all. And this is where some really serious inequality starts to creep in.
And that leads us right to the heart of the matter. The millions and millions of hours of work that keep our entire world running, but that most of us never even see.
It can start with just one little comment. Imagine this. In one family, a kid's friend says something pretty shocking, that the mom, Jaspreet, doesn't work simply because she's a housewife.
Well, that little comment sparked a big idea. Jaspreet, feeling like her work is totally invisible, decides she's going to prove a point. She announces to her family, "Okay, that's it. I'm going on strike tomorrow," and leaves them to figure everything out on their own.
So what happens? Total chaos. By the end of the day, there's no breakfast, the kids aren't ready for school, the dad can't even find the tea leaves. Jaspreet's point was made loud and clear. Her so-called unseen work was actually the glue holding that entire family together. And that story, Jaspreet's story, is the perfect definition of housework. It is not working. It's tough physical labor, it takes up a ton of time, and it's absolutely essential. But because it's usually unpaid and done by women, our society has a bad habit of devaluing it.
So what happens when this kind of work is paid? Well, for millions of domestic workers around the world, the reality is pretty grim. That low value society puts on housework, it translates directly into low pay and, maybe worse, a real lack of respect.
Let me tell you about Milani. Her story, working for a family in Delhi, is a tough but important example. Her day started at 5 in the morning. For breakfast, she was given just 2 dry rotis, never a third. In the winter, her feet would swell from the cold because she wasn't even allowed to wear slippers inside the house. Milani's question just cuts right through everything, doesn't it? After working her fingers to the bone all day, it was that lack of basic human dignity that felt the worst. Her story really shines a light on how deeply this kind of essential work is devalued. All of this begs a really important question. When you add everything up, the paid job and all that unpaid work at home,
who's actually working more? The data? Well, it might just shock you. Let's look at the numbers from a study in India. Just focus on those unpaid columns for a second. In states like Haryana and Tamil Nadu, you can see women are doing the overwhelming majority of this unpaid labor. Now slide over to the total columns. This is what experts call the double burden. You work a full day at your paid job, and then you come home to a whole second shift of unpaid work.
Let's put a number on that. When you add it all up, women in Haryana are working a staggering 53 hours every week. Men, they're working 40.
And look at Tamil Nadu. It's even more pronounced. That's 54 hours a week for women compared to 44 for men. I mean, the numbers speak for themselves. Women are consistently working more, which means they have way less time for themselves. So you see, this isn't just about what happens in one family. It's a whole system. And if you want to fix a systemic problem, you need systemic solutions. This is where governments can really step up and make a difference.
By recognizing that this massive burden of care falls mainly on women, governments can take real, concrete actions. Things like setting up affordable childcare centers, like the Anganwadis in India, or passing laws that make larger companies provide daycare facilities. And listen, these policies aren't just about making life more convenient. They're game changers. They make it possible for more women to enter the paid workforce, and just as critically, they allow more girls to stay in school instead of dropping out to help at home.
And that brings us to one last question for you to think about. Just picture it in your own life, your home, your neighborhood. What would actually happen if all the unpaid, unseen work just stopped for a single day? The absolute chaos that would follow. Well, that tells you everything you need to know about how truly valuable that invisible work really is.